there. Good morning. It is 5:41 a.m. I am an early riser today, and I actually have been up for about an hour. I've had a lot of thoughts just kind of racing through my mind about, of course, my situation, and this is pretty much routine for me. I don't think people realize the kind of problems that they cause other people and the frustrations and the arrogance that a lot of people, display and, project on other people that causes unnecessary suffering. So I couldn't really sleep the way that I wanted to, and I was thinking about some of the issues that have prevented me from, functioning in the last 12 years after leaving Murray Family Farms. And so my mind had been on focused on Rashawn. And I am being very careful about, using titles like brother, sister. I need to understand and constantly remember and get into the practice of referring to these people by their first name or something other than that. These were adoptive siblings that, uh, I moved on from. And, I see that Rashawn is like really heavily to blame on this issue. The first message I got when I did wake up is that many people do understand that Rashawn is to blame for this tragedy. And I'm sure as he saw people suffering the consequences, while he saw people suffering the consequences of his actions, he probably just didn't really seem very phased. And it's unfortunate because Rashawn is a mentally unstable person, and this is one of the reasons why I was reflecting on that story, or I remembered that story about my brother taking the car, or Sean, sorry, taking the car when I was a teenager. And oftentimes, when I have these flashes of memories, it's a way of the divine telling me that this is the answer. Like when my dad acknowledged the fact that that Rashawn was evil because he was willing to let other people suffer for what he did, that sent chills down my dad's spine. Probably because he knew that that was the making of a sociopath, right? I mean, and he, when you're an older adult and you understand human behavior, you probably, looking back, you've probably seen many people with this sort of personality type. And you see a teenager who has this sort of personality, and I think Sean was maybe 16 or 17 when all this was going on. He was a little bit older than that. I think he was like 17 when this was going on. You know that they're going to be very warped adults, very warped adults. So if you realize that as a parent, that's terrifying to you. So this is one of the reasons why my dad freaked out and just threw him out of the house. Like I didn't even know what to do other than that. But the reason why I remembered that story is because here we go again. This whole thing is being played out in what happened today. So he knew that he could stir up trouble unnecessarily. Okay, he felt as though my existence was a competition, and he felt as anything that I did in my life. I mean anything. I'm going to share some stories because I feel like it's therapeutic for me to talk about. But he's the kind of person who felt as though things that you did personally was like a slight to him. Okay, now I remember though, he never liked the things that I did, and he always criticized those things that I did. And like, I had mentioned in my newsletter that some of the things that people have against me, or they try to use against me, is my love of just eclectic music. And I've loved all kinds of music. And I remember when John Lennon got shot in the 1980s. Well, I noticed that my parents listened to the Beatles anyway, right? But that piqued my interest. It's like, okay, well, this is it's focusing on one of these particular members. And of course, I understood who people like Paul McCartney was because we always listened to him at our house. So I started to develop even more of an interest in the Beatles. I mean, mind you, we listened to them when we were kids, but I was like starting to buy like things about them. Like there was this one, what do you call those like commemorative type books that they publish. I think like People magazine or something. This was back in 1981 or 80 when John Lennon died. I went up and bought it, right? And I remember as I was walking down the hallway because I was going to head to my room and read and relax my book. relax and just kind of read my book, my brother jumps up and he said, what are you looking at? What are you holding?" He would interrogate me over anything. And I showed him my magazine, and then he would sit there and criticize it and tell me, who do you think you are? And that's dumb, and blah, 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 blah. He was just always somebody who felt like he needed to, and I knew that it was abnormal. Okay, I knew it was abnormal, but this is what a lot of people do in these toxic families. They're like, oh, we're brother and sister, and we're kids. You know what I mean? This is what kids do. And I dismissed it. But then you start thinking about all these things that showed this sort of abnormal kind of controlling behavior, and these stories start to accumulate, okay, to where it's like, yes, something is seriously mentally wrong with this man. So anyway, I know that he encouraged a lot of people to go against me, and this is still, the residual effect is still being felt today. Okay, Rashawn, it was a very, very toxic individual, extremely toxic. The intuitive message I'm coming up with right now is that a lot of these women are now ostracized by everyone, and they are losing their jobs as well as their reputation. Okay, why? Because of this man. Okay, and I'm not saying that these women they should throw the entire blame on these women, but he was certainly the person who stirred up this issue. He's the one who came out, because believe me, I moved here. I didn't call Rashawn and say, hey, I'm moving to Bakersfield and I'm going to be, living here. I didn't say anything. We were all kids. When we became adults, my parents said, by the time you're 18, you have your own life. Okay, then that's the way it is. As an adult, I figure out I'm going to move to Bakersfield because the cost of living's cheaper. I just packed my stuff up. I moved down here. I didn't ask his permission, but I bet he had this sort of attitude as if I needed to. Okay, he seriously had problems. So, throughout the years, Rashawn had always been the kind of person that looked for flaws. And this is what bullies do. Bullies look for flaws in their targets, okay, for whatever reason. And if they feel as though that you have some sort of flaw, whatever it is, they will exploit that flaw because it makes them feel better. In this case, I do believe that he stirred up problems over at Murray Family Farms. And the girl, Selena, I was thinking about her because what I noticed about the girl, Selena, is that she kind of resembled Mary Gordon, who is not my biological mother, but my adoptive mother. And I don't know if she is, because, when it comes to clones and all this weird stuff, I'm telling you, all this stuff is very crazy, strange. So who's to say she may have been like a weird, what do you call it, offshoot, clone, or what do you call it? Not clone, because a clone is kind of like the actual essence of that person, but like a spawn or something, because she looked a lot like Mary Gordon. She looked a lot like Mary Gordon, and I remember telling her that. As a matter of fact, this is one of the things that made us talk, because she looked a lot like Mary Gordon. Okay, so he stirred up tension in the workplace, and what he's been doing this for years. I have throughout my time away after leaving Murray Family Farms, all I've had to do was sit and reflect on, what happened. And then I started realizing that this happened over at organized sports. It happened at this job. And I kept thinking, wait a second, this happened in school. It happened at the jobs that I would hold when I was a teenager. Like my first job was at a place called Double Deal Pizza. Double Deal Pizza. You get like 2 pizzas for the price of 1, right? But I had noticed that there was oftentimes some sort of intrusion. And looking back, some of the personnel that I worked with were indeed German, okay? And they also must have been very closely associated with like German type, Nazi type viewpoints, okay? So, and I also got the intuitive message that, obviously people have known that I was one of these special children pretty much all my life. Now, the intuitive message that's coming through my mind is that there is no limit to the metaphysical skills that I possess. I'm not trying to go and prove that. As a human being, see, I see myself as a human. I don't need much. It's likely that people are going to, pray for things or petition the divine for things that they need. This is why we pray, okay? In this case, I needed protection. Because what Rashawn did was he created toxicity among everybody. And he made it so that the entire town was surrounded. He even infiltrated online with his little flying monkeys. He created nothing but drama and all kinds of problems. Okay. Meanwhile, he was just sitting there all calm and collected, watching people suffer. This is the kind of person that he is. Okay. So uh, I do get, I had dealt with two interactions in the last few days. I talked about me contacting the Bakersfield Police Department. And so, I found out later that that was unnecessary because I actually realized that the object that I thought was stolen, I was panicking. My son actually unplugged it from the patio and put it in the spare room, okay? Which I was relieved, okay? So I actually was like venting and just ranting about something, and then I ended up uploading a video, and before it completely uploaded, because I didn't want to be, I was like, oh well, then I found it, I didn't have to retract it, so I didn't want to create any problems, so I took it down because it was all my fault, okay? But it wasn't actually stolen. But I have felt very panicky and overreacted because in the last few weeks I have been processing just how deep the crimes that were committed against me, the employment manipulation, the rumor campaign. These people were actually initiating COINTEL tactics out on me. So when I was interacting with the Bakersfield Police Department and I'm hearing this guy talking very drearily and not really doing anything to assist me, the intuitive message I'm getting right now is not really doing anything to assist me. I felt as though, is this person in on this? And the sad part is that there's a chance that they could be. Okay, when you're dealing with gang stalking, human trafficking, all of these sort of things are loosely, well, actually, they're derived from COINTEL type programs. Okay, they're derived from COINTEL type programs. This is stuff that was actually created by white supremacist groups and practiced here in the United States, as well as people used to think that it was actually Germany that taught the United States, but coming and doing some research, it is now coming to be more understood that it actually originated in the United States and then was taught to Germany. Okay, and you best believe, yes, Mormons were involved in that sort of stuff. Okay, so what I had noticed about the Bakersfield Police Department is that I got an intuitive message that, he was not assisting me because of reasons that related to my personal life, like how I dress, the fact that I smoke marijuana, just things like that. Okay, and what people don't understand is that everybody is entitled to public service. Mind you, I will not. If let's just say I don't like getting in situations. I would never get in an ambulance. I would never let anyone service me. As a targeted individual, I take care of me. I take care of me, okay? So I don't like calling Bakersfield Police Department, but I was just hoping that he would be assisting me because I did not want to retrieve my stolen items if it was stolen from a neighbor by a neighbor, okay? Because that could end up being in some sort of altercation or something. So I was hoping that it would be handled by the police department, okay? But no, he did not assist me, okay? But their job is to assist the community. It is not for them to sit here and start thinking about, well, I don't like this person because they do this or they do that, okay? Because what they're doing is practicing genocide. Okay, that's exactly what they're doing. And there should be nothing in a data bank, and it would be very likely of Rashawn to sit here and try to create messages. Like, for example, I think I did a video a few years ago called 5150, and that 5150 is a code, okay? It's like a code that I believe the emergency systems keep track of, and it's registered as somebody who is crazy, okay? We all know that when you are a victim of gang stalking and human trafficking, the main thing that the perpetrator will use is that, or excuse to keep you under control, is that you have mental problems, okay? Now, I do not have any mental problems. The intuitive message I'm getting right now is that, yes, I am well spiritually protected, and that I am so very protected that it is very easy for me to get the kind of accommodations by my spirit team, meaning like, people could end up in a very messed up situation when they sit there and even try to plot and plan against me. Okay, I have a very strong spirit team. And the reason why is because the divine sent me down here and he knows that, or I don't want to say he, but I am a solitary warrior. Meaning, like, I had to deal with a bunch of irate people, right? And I knew that because this is human trafficking, we don't have people that will stand up and protect me. Okay? And so this is the reason why I resent the political people being convinced to assist Rashawn, because that was damaging. Okay? The intuitive message I'm getting right now is that, perhaps maybe Biden or Trump at one time were going around inquiring about me and my work ethic, and this could have created some problem because they were listening to my brother. Okay, this is why I'm saying, I think that people need to understand who they should be and should not be communicating with. Or they can communicate with them. I mean, they have to have, PR, public relations, and stuff like that. But at the same time, what Rashawn did was led people down a very dark path and put people's reputation on the line. Okay, Rashawn was a very disturbed person. The intuitive message I'm getting right now is that, yes, I was correct. I am over the age of 18. I am over the age of 18, meaning like I am responsible for myself. Okay, nobody has any legal guardianship over me. Rashawn should have never been a part of my life. The intuitive message I'm getting right now, as I mentioned, Rashawn, is something about my quarterly blessings. Okay, I know that he was a part of my YouTube intrusion, as well as some of the women, the women that I personally think he personally selected these women. It was I believe that he carefully chose the women who would be a part of my takedown. And all of these women just so happened to be obese. Now, Rashawn was very obese. Okay, Rashawn, growing up in the household, he used to have, when he was a teenager, he had a very lean body. I remember he had a very lean body, but he got married and, he ended up gaining a lot of weight. And I do believe that he felt very resentful towards that. And of course, overweight people tend to hang out with overweight people, and this is how they bonded. And I would say in the last, I would say in the last 25 years, we've seen an increase in obesity, and we've seen an increase in obesity. And a lot of this has to do with people. I believe people just giving up on life, just giving up on life. Okay. Whether people choose to be obese or not, that is their choice. It is their choice, okay? And, by trying to bully people into, being ashamed of who I am because I do have very good habits, that is wrong. What the message was in this community is that, that it's okay to bully people who are living their lives correctly. If a person has a personal shortcoming or they don't like themselves, then it's okay to lash out. And there's plenty of rewards that they can get because they were associated with a particular network, okay? And basically what that is it's called organized crime. Okay, and that's exactly what it is. It's organized crime. So yes, today I mentioned that, I think it was today. Yeah, I think it was today. Okay, I went down to Walmart and I encountered a Walmart greeter. This Walmart greeter, I've seen him off and on. Okay, like I've been in this apartment for a little bit over 2 years. Okay, and the issue is that I had a problem with my bike, and I think I talked about it in my video that I uploaded earlier today. But the thing is that it was his demeanor. Okay, it was his demeanor. And I can tell oftentimes in my communications with people, especially him, he made it very obvious because there was another man who was there, and then he was giving this other guy a glance, like they were looking at each other. And the guy I was talking to mainly, he was giving this look like, oh, it's that girl again, kind of rolling his eyes, kind of being dismissive as who I was as a person, And this is as a customer service representative, okay, this should never happen. You should never be making eye contact, eye rolls, making gestures at other people when a customer is there, okay? That is considered to be rude behavior. And he knew he was being rude. He knew he was being rude. He knew it was inappropriate, okay? But he thought he was getting away with it. You don't get away with things with me. And this is one of the reasons why people find me very frustrating. Now, ordinarily, like let's just say, for example, I was never a victim of gang stalking. I would just think, okay, that dude's really rude. He doesn't deserve a job. I wouldn't think of it that deeply. But I will tell you, I don't like that person. I don't like that person. Okay. I actually find him to be a very toxic individual. And it's this sort of, what do you call it? Kind of toxicity is that I deal with it a lot. One of the reasons why I prefer to be, well, I've always been self-sufficient. I've always been self-sufficient, okay? But see, like today, I needed to have somebody make an accommodation for me so that I can keep my bike. Now, mind you, I am in the store while I ran and got 4 items, okay? Anyway, but see, as a long-term customer, you would think, and they see me there all the time, you would think that they'd make an exception. Okay, but see, whether they make the exception or not, they have their policies. So it's like, okay, fine. You have your policies, fine, right? But at the same time, do I believe that if it was somebody else, would he have made accommodations? Most likely. See, what these people do is there is an orchestrated little group where they know that they had no right to sit here and read this stuff. And see, because of what Rashawn did, he left a negative vibe in the community, okay? Because all of these people were very amped up, wanting to win a competition that was illegal in the first place. And just like back when I said, like when I was talking about CB Berganza always gets what he wants. It's the issue of people dragging me into unnecessary drama. And then when CB Berganza or me, Maria Borden, am able to say why what you're doing is wrong, why, and prove the fact that they had nothing to do, then they get frustrated with all of this tension that gets built up, and it obviously has to go back to them because I'm blameless. See, this is what it is. It's the fact that I'm blameless, and they know it, okay? And then they get frustrated. Okay, I'm not responsible for that person's problems. The intuitive message I'm getting right now is that blessings are coming to me and that I am worthy of them. Okay, and I am worthy of them. I am worthy of having a better life, and I've been well aware of that. Okay, and I get tired of dealing with people who are sore losers in a game that they initiated, because I certainly didn't. Okay, now I do understand that that um, that a lot of politicians I've seen. I'm not going to mention any, but I'm very grateful that you are picking up my causes. And the reason why is because this needs, how can I say this? There is a darkness, okay? That seriously, I feel a darkness in this country. It's so sad, and this is one of the reasons why we have all these people bed rotting and people not feeling like there's any hope. It just feels dark, okay? And it's been this way. And do I believe that my brother played an integral part in this? Yes. The intuitive message I got is that some of the initiatives that Trump was convinced into taking has been that has and I noticed that a lot of women who dress nice, who take care of themselves, have been targeted. So this could be a whole thing of Rashawn getting together with other people, not just me, targeting me, but it created this whole, and it could have been a part of, what do you call it? Just a takedown, of maybe Christian, I don't want to say Christian, okay? When I say Christian, I'm referring to the cult, okay? I'm not saying that the Methodist Church is responsible for it or that it's an Orthodox thing. I'm saying is Rashawn with his personal friends who just so happen to be of different faiths and denominations get together with their unsatisfied lives and want to create a specific utopia, okay? And they want to blame women who dress nice, or they want to blame women who have to be independent. I will tell you, I have to be independent. I have to be. Okay, and it's important for me to upkeep certain things that are considered to be assets because they're going to help me with my future life. Okay, in a situation, I will tell you, if you're a woman who is single, okay, and yes, I am single, I'm all by myself. I do not, I mean, yes, I'm very grateful I have my son, okay, but you know what? I'm also somebody who looks at my life as being responsible. I do not feel comfortable with all of dumping my problems onto my son. I do understand we are all responsible for ourselves. And yes, we can help and offer our assistance if we want to or we have to at times, okay? But he has it's like, I understand, you know, me being a clone and understanding C.B. Berganza's dilemmas and then coming back with Maria Gore as Maria Gordon and having struggles, I understand the importance of freedom. I understand the importance of freedom. Okay, nobody wants to wake up feeling obligated, chained down. You know, and I know my son. He's the kind of person he could sleep. He could sleep on a mat for the rest of his life. He does not care. He really doesn't. To him, he's got a roof over his head. He's got food in the refrigerator. He's totally fine with it. But everybody should have that right to have a say over what they do with their own lives. In this case, these people not only bullied me out of work, orchestrated my employment, then started making life decisions for me, got their hands involved in things that they should not have touched, such as my credit. You know what I mean? He didn't even have any specific reason why he was going to limit my things, other than I was somebody who took care of myself. Now, going back to my belief in taking care of yourself as a person who is in my situation. Now, like I said, I'm not married or anything like that, okay? But some women are, right? Some women are. So, like, and I'm not going to mention her name, but the lady I worked with over at Edwards Air Force Base, okay? Her reasoning was, okay, that, and she worked, she had a regular job, okay, but her reasoning is that if, you know, she couldn't handle life, or she needed some help or whatever, or she needed a partner her future, then she would be able to attract one. Okay, that's logical. That is logical. Now, I personally have a philosophy that this is how you're supposed to live, and I do believe you're supposed to live this way. Okay, but for women who are trying to take care of themselves, I believe that my appearance is something that adds to my career. Why? Because I believe in a philosophy of taking care of yourself, of self-love, of all of that. So if I was to publish books on philosophy, I am living proof of that. I am living proof of that. Okay, so yes, this is who I am, and you did not have any right to sit here and create your propaganda and your bullying tactics and all of this sort of stuff. The intuitive messages I'm getting is because it had something to do with marijuana. Once again, marijuana is legal. It's legal. Okay, it's your choice. It's your choice. You could either take it or leave it. Okay, but to sit here and try to prevent somebody from receiving public assistance or denying people their rights because they partake or they smoke marijuana is absurd. It's illegal. Okay? The reason why marijuana is legal is because it is now, when it becomes legal, it now assists. Okay, how can I say this? It is something that cannot be used in court against me. Okay, so like let's just say, for example, we were to go to court, right? And okay, we were going to court for a reason relating to child custody. Now, if I was an addict to where I was behaving erratically, I was doing things to where I felt as though I was resorting to crime in some way so that I could continually feed my marijuana habit. Okay, if I was like a fiend for it or an addict about it, then that would be an issue. But there is nothing that I have done that indicates that I have ever been an addict or anything like that. Okay, yeah, I'm just like that person who might have a glass of wine at night or something like that. There is no proof that I've ever acted irrational or in any way. So anyway, so the intuitive message that's coming to my mind right now is that yes, I have proven so much in my experience, and that people are quite amazed because all the things that I was talking about, like the dangers of why people needed to break up and stop this nonsense back in 2015 when I realized that I was being a target of, or highlighted and I was being focused on. And then when I said, okay, you need to stop this because I told these people exactly what was going to happen. Okay, there's a video, I forgot the name of it, but it was a two-part video. I think it was Dominion Theology. I was talking about this, okay? The reasons why it needed to stop. I told people the end result of what happens when you don't stop, okay? And this is what they did anyway. They did it anyway. And they may have done it because they wanted to use force, okay? When you use force in the United States, and that's terrifying to people. That is like, it's terrorism. Because these are the things that get enacted, like you're enacting things in the public system, you're going to the police department and telling people to pick and choose who they're supposed to save. That is a problem. Okay, that is illegal. Okay, and it's genocide, plain and simple. Plain and simple. Okay, like I said, I do not make a habit of using emergency services. Okay, I don't. Okay, I don't even go to regular doctors. I told you, when you are a victim of human trafficking, especially these underground Christian groups, are to be of serious concern. Okay, and like I said, I want to be very clear about Christianity. Okay, I've always tried to make a distinction as to Christians, you know, or I understand the church played an integral part in the destruction of my reputation. Okay, so we also have people like my brother who claims to be a Christian affiliate, right? And then he binds together with people like Alita, who's Catholic, and all these other people who have different denominations. They function as a cult, okay? But do I believe they were highly inspired by what these messages were coming from the church? I think they might have used it as fuel for the fire. But then they started taking, you know, personal issues. Like, for example, you know, the silly stuff that you do, and then they try to incorporate that as to why they should attack you. And it just becomes horrible. Yes, this was based on a cult. A cult. A C-U-L-T. Okay? Okay, the intuitive message I'm getting right now is that I'm being recognized highly about what I'm saying, and that the person on the phone who spoke with me at BPD, he noticed that I am an angelic being, and yes, I do have the right to perform magic. When you have the freedom of religion, that means you have the right to pray. You have the right to pray to God. You have the right to pray to whoever God you want to. Okay, and you may not pray to what do you call it? Like you may not pray to Jesus. You may direct your prayers to the divine, the Father, the Head, the, you know, whatever name that you use. Okay, but you have that right. And oftentimes, you know, people will say, "Oh, I prayed and my prayer was answered." Like they might have prayed over an ailing person, and the person ends up pulling through, right? Well, they have the right to believe in their prayer, you know, working. Same thing. I always pray that, you know, this is my life. I'm praying over my household. I'm praying over my son. I'm praying over myself. Okay. And if people try to mess with me and it boomerangs, I have every right to say, you know what? I have the right to pray here in the United States. This is my religion. You know, I don't really call it my religion because it's not really a formal religion, but I have the right to pray. I have the right to have spiritual protection, and just like anyone else. Okay. And so I know that people were putting the bugs in people's ear over my spiritual gifts, and they, you know, brought political people in it. And I think they may have done this when they realized they were getting knocked off like flies. You know what I mean? Meanwhile, you know, they got what they deserved, basically, is what I'm saying. Okay. I know that I just recently, hang on. I just recently was donated a car, and I do want to thank the donator for that. Okay, I don't want to go into so much of you know, where the car came from or anything like that. You know, I just feel as though people need to understand what is considered to be insensitive and what is not, what's appropriate. Okay, there are certain things that or tragedies that can occur. Okay, and after they occur, it's not appropriate to make light of the situation. That's just like, you know, some people might, okay, like for example, some people who might make a joke out of like the Holocaust, or people having to go to the gas chamber or something like that. That it's not it's in poor taste. It can create more triggers. The same thing how I feel about encountering somebody who was a part of my trafficking. I feel the same way. It's like, let's just say, for example, I was walking into Trader Joe's and then I would see Alita coming out. That would cause me problems. Okay? Because I would immediately feel like I wouldn't want to punch her in the face. I would feel like, this is a person who took all of this, was the cause of my trauma, was the cause of my financial setbacks, was a cause, not just my financial setback, but my plans that I had made for myself and my security as an adult. She took it upon, all of these people took it upon themselves to enact something that they should not have, and I felt the consequences of it. Okay, so no, I don't want to see these people. Okay, and it should be understood that especially the fact that this was an illegal adoption. This is where, when I realized that my brother Rashawn was not my brother, Rashawn was not really my actual brother. He should have backed up and not had anything to do with me. Okay, you know why? Because any involvement that those people, Tanya, Rashawn, Lisa, all of these people would be involved in would only be for reasons of exploitation. Okay, the reason why they bullied me in the manner that they did is because they didn't have any regard for me, because I was not really one of their siblings, and this is what they did. Okay, they've been treating me like this for years. Okay, and so I know that some of the intuitive messages that they're not really my intuitive messages, but this particular message, or this particular message actually came from a YouTuber, okay? And I would say multiple YouTubers talking about, how some of the people that used to know me are amazed at who I am now. Like, for example, when I was in workplaces for many years, people thought that I didn't have anything to say. I didn't realize that, number one, I was a clone. I didn't realize that my family was involved in any of this sort of stuff. I didn't know that, that I was always like surrounded by all this toxicity. Okay. And so I know a lot of times, because my employment was orchestrated, they would, bully me, try to embarrass me in public or in situations. They would, stand over me, make me extremely nervous. And I never realized what was going on. I just kept thinking, why is it that you're acting this way? Why is everything in the work environment over the top? So all they saw me do in the workplace was just withdraw. Like, I was confused and not knowing what was going on. Okay. Now I know. Okay. Now I know. Okay. That I was a part of this whole, cloning thing, and that my family, had this pathological sickness where they felt like they needed to involve themselves more than they should, and they're the ones who were creating the drama as well as the people in the community, and they couldn't stop, and they followed me throughout whenever. Okay, and because they kept me in a situation where I was always nervous, stuttering, trying to defend myself, you know what I mean, they refused to see who I was. They refused to see who I was. They knew Rashawn was somebody who bullied me relentlessly for studying with Jehovah's Witnesses. Okay, he was the one who would sit there and like rally all the kids in the neighborhood about me, laughing at me because I chose to study the Bible. Okay, when I was a kid. Okay, and so now he comes back, years later, trying to bully me over my religion. See, this is why I get tired of Rashawn and his crazy crap. Okay? And like I said, growing up when I was studying with Jehovah's Witnesses, people knew that I was interested. I wanted to find my path. I wanted to make sure that I've always been this way. Always been this way. Okay? I've always been very philosophical. I've always been somebody who, always overthought stuff. And then every time I would be talking about something, I was always told to shut up, or they would roll their eyes, or they would dismiss the things that I had to say. Okay, that has always been the social dynamic within this group of people. And so I chose to move over here a town or two over, because Lancaster's not that far away. But I decided to move over here, right, to start another life, not too drastic, but these people came with them. So you guys created nothing but problems for me. Okay? The message I'm getting right now is that these women a lot of these women are ostracized, and I know that they're dealing with a lot of problems, okay? And what they're upset about is that they feel like, well, I heard in one of these videos, okay, that people are aware of I'm aware that some of these people who are attacking me are suffering, and they act as if, I'm selfish because I don't care. The actual truth is I don't care. I don't care. And the reason why is because for years and years and years and years, everything I did was dismissed. For years and years and years and years and years, you guys spread the narrative that there was something mentally wrong with me. Yet, you were sitting here believing this, but you acted as if I was somebody who was worthy of being abused. I was worthy of being set up and being humiliated or being treated like I was less than, okay? Because you thought something was mentally wrong with me. What kind of a person does that? Okay? A crazy person. That's what a crazy person. Okay? If something was mentally off with me, you should have, and you really cared, you would try to make sure that maybe I would get some sort of assistance or whatever. But no. No, you didn't. Okay? So what you thought was you were willing to exploit somebody that you thought was mentally off. Okay? And so this is why all of these people are worthy of death. So I don't feel sorry that people are getting beat, especially after me having to explain myself for 12 years. What did you not understand in all the videos that I was talking about within that 12-year period of time? For 12 consecutive years. And now you're starting to act like I'm intelligent? Oh, you knew I was intelligent already. Some of you guys already knew that. It's just that you didn't want to stop your game. Okay, because the thing is, you started accelerating your bullying tactics because you kept thinking, oh, she's going to win us. She's going to beat us. Because you guys were thinking that this was a competition. It's not a competition. I'm responsible for my life. I'm responsible for having a job. I'm responsible for keeping a roof over my head. And you decided to illegally, prevent that from happening. So I don't care what happens to you. The intuitive message I'm getting right now is I possess divine truth. Okay? And with divine truth comes divine justice. So these people got what they deserve. And no, I don't feel sorry for them. Okay? I don't care how many women are getting beaten. I don't care how much they're crying. I don't care if they're getting beaten bloody every single gosh damn day. They got their justice. Okay? It's not like they didn't know. It's not like it's an oopsie. Okay? This showed and proves that they had nothing but cruelty. Evil, wicked people. Okay? Other message I'm having. Okay, the intuitive message I'm getting right now is that I freed people from Christianity. I want to make a distinction between what Christians we're talking about. Because like I said, when I did a reading, I did a video earlier. Well, it's actually in the morning, okay? It's a completely different day. But last night I did a video and I was talking about, some of the Republicans were against me because, see, Rashawn's going to tell you a half truth. That I want to make a distinction between Christians and these little offshoot cult groups that Rashawn, runs with. Okay, I'm not sitting here attacking the Presbyterian Church. I'm not attacking the Methodists. I'm not attacking any church building, church group, congregation specifically. I'm talking about the nightmare trauma that was created here. The kind of group people that have been surrounding me my entire life, who have walked in are operated 100% on mental illness, okay? And it's that mental illness that I've seen displayed in other people, which made me decide throughout my life that organized religion was not for me. Okay, I saw the mental illness that my sister Tanya went through. Okay, I see the mental illness that that Rashawn used, or he used religion as an excuse to. I think he may have used religion to subjugate his wife. Okay, and I do not, because Rashawn was a very mentally warped person. I, in my mind, I'm looking at Melissa because I would say that Melissa was actually a very attractive woman. How else could someone like my brother get someone like Melissa other than abusing her, subduing her, and keeping her down like that? Because I will tell you right now, I often wonder, why doesn't Melissa just walk the hell away from this person? And she should have. She should have, okay? At top speed. And I don't know who Melissa was on the inside, okay? Because maybe Melissa might have been just as rotten and warped as he was. Like I said, I never really got to know Melissa very well. The only times that I really spent time with her one time, a few times, okay? Okay, I remember my brother introducing me to her when I was living in Lancaster, a little bit after my son was born. And then there was one specific holiday where everybody had at my sister's house, and Melissa was there, so I got a chance to like talk to her a little bit. But as far as me knowing her, I don't know what her favorite color is. I don't know what kind of car she drives. I don't know nothing. But if I was just basing it on shallow things, which really you shouldn't, okay? But if I was just basing it on appearance alone, okay, I would say that Melissa had what it took to be a fashion model, and my brother was just, or Sean, was just this big flat blob. So the only way that he could keep a woman as beautiful as Melissa would probably be under some sort of control, okay? Some sort of abusive control, okay? And whatever, like I said. So the intuitive message I'm getting right now is that women are really feeling, some of the women who were abusing me are getting what their just desserts, and I know that, okay? And a lot of it has to do with them bullying me, is that my picture on my newsletter. And see, this is what enrages me so much, okay? Is that it was my YouTube channel, okay? Those publications are all mine. And they wanted to attach themselves to me, okay? And then critique how my publications and my work was supposed to be produced, okay? She can't show her, they didn't want me to show my face. All of my stuff is mine. Say they don't have any right to sit here and try to tell me about my creative, adjustments that I need to make, or trying to be a part of some sort of committee that makes decisions on how I'm presenting my stuff, okay? These people are obnoxious. The intuitive message I'm getting right now is instant death to who could even think of harming me. Or my son. Me and my son are divinely protected. Do not mess with me. The intuitive message I'm getting right now is that I should live for myself. I only have myself to live for, okay? And I do live for my son, okay? I love my son, okay? And I care about his protection and him being happy. That's it, okay? What else do I want to say? I possess divine truth, that me and my son are protected, and that people who have been watching my videos throughout the 12 years. What's it been 12 years? 2015. Okay, no, this channel has been in existence for 10 years. Okay, me talking about the same thing. This right here is proof of what I was talking about. This channel right here alone is a record of everything to prove that I'm right. Okay, I can prove everything. I got my timelines. I got everything. Everything, okay? So there is nothing, no argument there. Nobody can say anything, okay? Anything else. I think that's it. Okay, so I'm going to wrap this video up. I felt like I needed to talk, okay? Obviously, what happened to me is very traumatizing, very disturbing to me. The feel that our country is going through right now with women being bullied and being taken, and our dreams being crushed and thrown, and people manipulating this through these underground crime syndicates, okay? Underground crime syndicates are showing up in things like law enforcement, showing up in things like a customer service and stuff like that, okay? And I need people to be aware of it for their own safety, okay? So I'm going to wrap this video up. I want to thank Europe, the people of Europe, because I do know that you support me. I know the people here in the United States do support me. I am very grateful to have that support. Unfortunately, I'm sure most of you guys are plugged into the Shadow channel, or there's my channel is very weird and wonky because of this. Okay, I do have the intuitive feeling that the message I'm getting right now is that I know. I keep getting the same message about these women getting beaten. I know it. Okay, like I said, and hopefully this is going to be a lesson for the future. Okay, if you have children and you have family, or you're married, okay, you're in some sort of agreement to be able to pull your weight. And see, Why I am warning people about jeopardizing their professional reputation is something you should never do. Okay, this is going to serve as a lesson. Okay, do you think it's funny to join in harassment games with people, or you want to single people out in communities because you're doing it for a friend, or you think it's fun, or it's group activity, or whatever, and you can end up creating things like treason. You could end up doing things that are going to get you into a lot of trouble. That could actually warrant, what some of these people did. If they were tampering with things like our food supply and stuff like that, that is a very serious offense. It's a very serious offense. Okay, that you think is just a competition. A competition should not be taking place at work. Okay, I don't want people trying to drag me into competitions. The thing is, I do the best job I possibly can, not because I'm trying to make you look bad. You know what it is? I know that I'm all by myself. I know that, the only thing that I have is reliability. The only thing I have to make an employer hire me is my willingness to go the extra mile, to do the best job, to whatever, to make sure that I am employable. Okay. And a narcissist takes that as a personal slight. Okay, I understand. If you're an applicant and there's a bunch of different people that you feel like you got to stand out. Okay, you need to work on your skill and maybe work on your presentation, work on your resume, work on your whatever, work on how you present yourself. I don't know. I mean, you have to tweak your own profession the way that you want it and have it aligned to how you are and how you see yourself in your role. Okay, that's something you need to work on. Okay, but you not advance yourself in the manner that you do because it's illegal. Okay, I'm gonna wrap up this video, and if I feel like talking later, I will definitely flip this camera on and air out what I need to say, because this is what I was dealt an injustice. And people like the guy from Walmart and the dude from Bakersfield, whatever, they are the kind of people that make you feel as though you cannot like the community that you're in because of this stupid attitude. Okay, what these people are people who do not deserve their positions. Okay, I'm hoping that in the future, my initiatives of being a part and helping promote the new world order type life. Okay, which I want people to be free. I want people to be free. I want people to feel the things that they want to do that is not hurting other people. They should not be sitting here feeling like, oh, looking behind their shoulder, or feeling like they should be able to say, hey, these are my choices, and stop trying to punish me or penalize me for things that I have the right to do. Yes, I have the right to go to Walmart. I have the right to purchase the kind of stuff I want to purchase, or I have the right to go to any store I want to and purchase it. And it's not something that somebody should be sitting here like, oh, I can't respond to 911 because she just bought a pair of loafers or something stupid like that. These people need to be removed from their positions. You know what I mean? And we need to start filling positions in people being in positions that really do work. Are some things, can things be reduced to automation? Possibly. You know what I mean? I will tell you, if this is the sort of attitude that the majority of people have, being unmotivated, not really doing what they have to do, or pick and choosing who they're going to service, well, maybe that's what we need to go to in certain industries. Okay. Anyway, I'm going to wrap up this video, and I will be back with another video sometime later. Take care. Bye.